Welcome to Sunrise Sisters. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kate, and we're two runners who became friends quickly. We share advice, we laugh, and we're taking our runs off the road and into the studio.
Are we going? All right, we're going.
Good morning, Shannon.
Hey, good morning, Kate. How are you today?
I am good. How are you?
I am good. I am really good. I actually ran 4 miles this morning and then went to the gym.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing.
How about you? Did you run?
Yeah, it was not supposed to be a run day, but I took my trash out. It was so nice out that I ended up just a little run. I still want to lift. So did you run 4 miles by yourself?
No, I got invited by
Morning crew?
Maureen invited the morning crew, but it was only me that said yes because we haven't done it in a while. And I started going to the gym on Saturdays. And when she sent it out, I just immediately said yes because I knew my gut later would be,
I wish I did it.
Much, and then I would wish I did it.
Yeah.
So that was that. I just went for it. I said in.
Yeah.
I responded.
I love that method where you don't hem and haw. Sometimes when you hem and haw, you talk yourself out of it and then you regret it. You just did it. I love that.
Just say yes to some of that stuff versus think about it. Yes.
Yeah. And you can complain while you're doing it or wish you didn't, but then you won't regret it.
Yes. And we did not discuss 4 miles. I think if I had seen 4 miles too, I might have said, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes too, because Maureen and I haven't run in a while, it was really nice because we went from a different spot that I don't normally run. It was familiar routes, but we got there a different way. And my busy, instead of being in the flow of do, and I know that this hill's going to be hard, I'm going to run out of steam.
Totally.
My brain was catching up with her, kind of paying attention. So it made it a little easier to do the 4, or I probably think, no, don't do it.
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. You just go with it. When you're in a new place, you can't think ahead and
Yeah.
Like we do.
Yes.
And then you lifted and then you did some lifting. That's good.
Yeah. So the circuit training kind of thing.
Wow. You're really healthy this morning. Good for you.
Yeah. Because let me tell you, I wasn't healthy yesterday. Really not healthy.
You were really unhealthy yesterday?
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's just put it in context. We ran yesterday. Many people don't run. We ran. I ate a lot of fruits and vegetables. I can count things that are very good, but then I just kept eating and eating and wanting more. And then we went out to dinner because 2 of my 3 sons are home.
Oh,
ate a lot there. And then I had a cocktail. So it just kind of went off the rails and I felt like that.
Yeah. That was one of the topics I wanted to talk about was balance. I never feel like I have balance. Do you ever feel like you have balance?
That's a really good question. I think exploring balance really came up over the summer. And when I was doing some of my work with doing more holistic work and functional work in general to find that balance, it's easy to get me off track because I think sometimes when I'm in the day to day and I feel, especially when things are a little less certain, I'll context this. When I have a path to follow and everything's kind of baked into what I do, I do really well. As soon as something disrupts my thinking, it doesn't have to be negative or positive. It just is disruptive. That's when I do things like yesterday, which is, oh my gosh, I'm just hungry all the time. I'm going to eat a ton of things, right? When they're in front of me. Or when I stop doing the things I know are good for me, like rest, to pause or to find a little bit of the space that I think I need to feel good. What about you? You just said balance is really hard for you. So
I never feel like I'm in balance. I don't know if that's even possible. I feel like when you have so much on your plate, as we all do, it's like what I think by default, I have no other choice. I've had to learn how to chunk my life. That is also, I think, and prioritize. I think that's why I love our runs and our workouts is because it's like that chunk time is my time.
Yes.
But I always feel like, I don't know, I feel like women more than men, but I'm not a man. So what do I know? I feel like women say it more to me. I see a lot of women on a regular basis. I see a lot of men, but I see more women. And I think that is, in general, feels hard to feel like you've got all your, all your balls in the air or your balls on the floor? Where should?
Well, I think it's you have a lot of balls in the air, or you have too many eggs in one basket. All your eggs in one basket. There's something about round things, orbs in a container.
We do this. We do this. We never.
I can't remember.
No, you can't. I love that. Remember when, sidetrack, remember when we were talking about elections and we were like, what were we talking about?
Did the police chief vote?
Can the police, is that legal? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's legal. Wait, why? No.
I've never questioned that personally.
No, we always come up with weird things like that, right? So eggs in a basket, balls in the air, whatever.
Victoria, I think, wants to tell us
whatever it may be. Go ahead.
Ducks in a row.
Ducks in a row.
Ducks in a row, and they're neither orbs or round things, and they're not in a container. They're just in a row.
What do you guys define balance as?
I don't think there's such a personally. I don't think there's such a thing. I gotta think. Shannon's like looking up to the side, like she has some thoughts about it. I feel like for me, balance is chunking. What I've come to feel is it's not like multitasking at the same time. For me, balance is I can focus on this thing for X amount of time, and then I can pivot and focus on this thing for an X amount of time. At the end of the day, if I look back, there's many times where I'm like, oh, crap, I have all this stuff I still have to do that I didn't get to. Or, like today is Saturday morning. Last night, I'm already counting down the hours to my weekend, thinking how much I got to get done and check off my list. So I feel like we always have that in our heads. I feel like there's always stuff that's undone. But for me, I feel like balance is when I'm more present in what I'm doing at the moment. And now, like being on my own and being a single mom and having only X amount of time with my kids, like by default, I've learned that when I have my kids, that's my chunk time with them. When I don't, it's like my chunk time is work or the extra things I have. I just chunk. And that has helped me feel a little more balanced regardless. And this took a while for me is I always make sure I have time to do something that refreshes me. My runs, our workouts, being out in the yard walking, like regardless that time I've chunked, it took me a while to feel okay doing that on a regular basis. It just was hard for me. There was a lot of guilt there. I felt like I should be doing work or I shouldn't be away from my kids for 45 minutes or whatever it is, but you come back better, which we know, but it's, you have to live it to know that. I think it's not easy. What were you going to say, Shannon?
No, I'm really listening to you because a couple of things, just you're bringing up that women seem to do. I don't think I know one man, including my husband, who said, I think I need more balance. I think I need work-life balance, right? That one comes up a lot. And I believe, and again, I've never asked him, it's because women take on a lot of the psychological stress or psychological list of things they need to do. And I say this with a husband who does a lot. And he and I are partners and divide things up. But I have the birthdays in my head. Easter, I had all of what I need to get for Easter and to make Easter.
It could be that they think differently. I mean, when you talk to them, if you said to him, do you feel like you have a lot? He would say sometimes he feels overwhelmed, or I don't know.
Yes.
You're welcome, Dave, for bringing you into this whole scenario. But like, I talk to a lot of men that say there's always something to do. I don't think it's just a woman thing, but I think we process it differently. Maybe there's like guilt of not giving our 100% to everything we do, where maybe men don't take it on emotionally like that.
I think you're onto something. I think we're always feeling we're falling short somewhere because we're pulled in multiple directions. I do think there's psychological things we keep in our heads to get done. But you're right. My husband's got stresses, got things he has to get done, has a load, but I don't think he thinks about it the same way. And for me, you said, what is balance? And I heard a lot of what you were saying, which is trying to fit in all of the things you need to fit in, and you have to segment your life because it's with kids when the kids aren't there, when you're working, when you're not working, and other caretaking tasks to fit in. I think I'm starting to be in a different situation where my kids are grown. I'm going to be an empty nester next year. They can get themselves anywhere. The sports and all the activities are really done. Two aren't here. They're out of the house. So with me, I think what I learned is the rest work balance, that I always feel like I need to be moving. And it actually is where I live most of the time. I have a certain level of work where I feel like I should be go, go, go. And that could be at work. So if I break or I'm not as productive, I feel that I'm not doing what I need to do. So I'm always filling that space. And I think at home too, that my normal conditioning is I feel anxious if I'm not doing something because I know I have that list. And I feel like when I sit is when I start to think about things. And last year was when I really, which I've talked about on the podcast and I just mentioned, I had a really terrible stomach. And I don't mean like kind of a bad day stomach, like a bad stomach in a way that for days and days and felt terrible. And I feel like what I learned from that truly was that I wasn't putting enough balance, meaning rest. So what does rest look like? And if you don't mind me going further, Kate, I think the part that really was interesting to me, although I'm not doing it as much now and I need to get back to it, is things like taking a Epsom salt bath, resting, or sitting outside and really looking at rest as a part of my, sitting and reading and taking a break in a longer time. I would also say things like active rest, meaning going for a walk. I always would have a podcast in or something to learn or a book or something that may keep my brain. Actually walking with no sound or just like restful music, not feeling like every moment has to be productive. And you and I are in two different spaces in that, because I would say when my kids were younger, I had no choice but to get them to the activity they were going to and to work on that with Dave. You're a single mom now, like you said. It must feel like, how do you do that? Right. No, you need, I think what I learned is if you don't do it, your body starts to tell you, I can't do this. I can't operate at this level anymore.
Yeah. I think that's tricky when you and I are the same in a lot of ways. And that's like that productivity of always feeling like you're checking things off a list.
Yeah.
And that even translates into running and exercising too. So yeah. And
Victoria's raising her hand. You feel that
I think a lot of us are like this. And it's
can I just say something as a single no children woman, is that I think that we all, like all women have, and this is, I feel bad for generalizing it, but it's like scientifically proven that women always are multitasking. Like, have you ever seen the videos of where like the wife or girlfriend will be like, oh, honey, tell me how we met, but do it while you're cutting a piece of paper. And I think that is so just like a hidden talent that they have, where they can be so single focused on something. Even when I'm doing something, I've thought of 18 different things that I'm supposed to be doing today. So I try to do my balance, not necessarily physically, but mentally, of like, what can I do to drown out all the lists that I'm making? That's what's stressing me out. It's not actually doing the work. I know that I can do the work and do all the things. It's thinking about it. And I just need my brain to stop talking. So just again, like listening to audiobooks, listening to music, just trying to meditate and get myself out of my own brain is where I find the best balance.
I think it's the present. It's a practice of learning to be in the present moment of what you're doing. Take, for example, getting up in the morning, like this morning, I got up and I'm thinking, okay, I know it's going to be a nice day. I probably am going to want to run, but I know it's a lift day and I have this work to do and I wanted to paint something, list. And then I'm like, I'm going to just sit on the couch and read a book. I just read 2 chapters and I drank my coffee and I started to think, how am I going to do this before we record our podcast? Like I still got to run and I'm trying to, and then I'm like, no, I'm just going to read 2 chapters and drink my coffee. And then I'm just going to stop. And then I'll just go on to the next thing. And practicing, for me at least, it's been helpful to be very present with what I'm doing in the moment and just really try so hard to just focus on that thing in front of me. And then when I'm done, I'm done. And then I go to the next thing. It's not, like I said this morning, I already was like jumping ahead, but when I'm outside, like walking around in my yard, or I'm not thinking I gotta go grocery shop, I'm just out in the yard. Like taking pictures has been very, very helpful for me to just be present in what I'm doing at the moment. So I do that a lot. I think that's been helpful for me.
Yes. I like that we're starting to talk about what do we do. I like the idea of tell how we met, cut the paper, or to your point, I've done where I ask a question of Dave and I'm not even listening because I'm thinking of something I need to do or paying attention to something that just came in on my phone and then I go, what did you say? And he's like, why did you ask me? Right? Your brain's in so many places. So how to be in the moment and not always multitasking or doing something. And I think the second part is, and also being at peace in the moment of, I've gotten to a point, and I don't know if I have it here, but I have a beautiful notebook. I started this during COVID, but I bring it out in different ways. Having a notebook where I unpack whatever's in my head onto a list, because sometimes I can look at that list. One is it gets it out of my head versus sometimes what's in my head, I worry I'm not going to remember, or I through it over and over and over and over. Putting it on a piece of paper, I can look at it right away and say, there it lives. It doesn't have to live in my head. And I can totally see that I can't get this all done. So already I can put peace and say, to your point, what you just said, prioritize. What do I need to do now? And what do I need to do later? And on the list, I put walking, I put showering or bathing, I put having a snack or having a meal. And then I try to put now some things that give me pause. And I think that's the other key is, the third thing would be knowing that you have to prioritize rest. Like your coffee moment. I have these things. I'm ready to jump up. But right now, I want to pause, read, and have a cup of coffee. It's enjoyable. It's rest. And I'm still reading a book, but I can get some peace for a second before I launch into all these things. And don't you think both of you think it's very deliberate? You have to do that because you'll lose yourself in that list.
And it's important, I think, to remember that those don't need to be bottom priorities.
Yes.
Because you always go, oh, I'll get to it before I go to bed. And then you don't get to it and you don't do it. I think it's really important to put it right in the middle.
Huge.
Got to.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I hope I'm not overtaking my situation, but I just for many, many years put myself, as many people do, put yourself after. And I have no choice now. It's me or no one. I run my own business. I run my own house. I make all the decisions by myself. If I'm not on, nothing's on. And now I realize that. I had to get to this point to realize it. So maybe that's, there's a benefit there. But if you can recognize that you're not your best, if you don't give yourself that needed, Shannon, you're so good with that rest reminder. We talk about that a lot on our runs, how important that is, and to be okay in it, to not beat yourself up in that rest and how important that is. Yeah.
It takes practice though, because like I said, it took me really getting sick and saying, no, you're really good at this. Being told, no, you don't. And the reason I'm falling asleep at 7:30 sitting on the couch, I don't get up early, right? That's the Sunrise Sisters. But that feeling of making sure to get yourself back there and versus filling in the space. I would say the other thing that came up during my learnings is sleep. And I'm definitely still in the learning mode. I'm some days better than other, but getting in bed to give yourself the opportunity for 8 hours of sleep. And Kate, as you know, when you have that list, you can push it out. I think you're a doer at night. I would say I turn into, I get into a seat and can't move because I'm so tired. And sometimes, and this makes me really mad, I actually go to bed later than I want or get into bed to start to read. I always read before bed because I don't want to get up from the couch because I'm so tired. I actually go to bed later because I'm too tired to get up, which is kind of crazy, right? My body's saying, but sleep to me is one of the most basic things we could do for ourselves. And sleep is not easy for all of us. us to get that full time, as well as staying asleep and all the things that, we go through as women, especially as our hormones change and you start waking up at 3 o'clock. Sorry, Victoria, coming into your work. There's a witching hour. We all wake up with our hormones, which is around 3 in the morning, 2 and 3 in the morning, and you can't get back to sleep.
Yeah, I think we both had our things. Like we both had our things where it was like, okay, different experiences that probably a lot of people can relate to, where you were, okay, it's now or never. Like you have to make a choice. Yeah.
I think it's reminding yourself that all of that.
Dive into my bed. I can't wait to dive into my bed. But I'm also, very, very rigid with my schedule, which I have to work on, but it helps me get things done to be super rigid. So
yeah, you and I talk about that. We're creatures of habit. We find comfort in those routines because it makes some of the chaos more predictable. I do feel though throughout this, you're going to fall off that, right? I just talked about my morning and it was go, go, go. Right now, I got to figure out what's next. Tomorrow's the next day. I've got my immediate family coming, so they're not expecting a clean house or perfection, but there's things to do. And I want to be outside because it's a nice day and start doing some yard work because I enjoy being outside. So I think I'm going to find that list. I'm going to put some of the things on it right now. And I'm so glad we're not in person because I smell so bad. I'm going to decide that moment of when I'm going to bathe, because if I walk the dog or if I do yard work, it might be a 2-bath or 2-shower day, to be honest, because I'm so gross.
You know what I think? At the end of the day, you look back and you don't regret, when you think about the things that you have to do and you think about all the things on your plate. Sometimes I'll fast forward to the end of the day and I'll say, would I regret that I spent time doing this or whatever it might be? I'm just using my kids as an example. If they're saying, Mom, let's, play a board game or something, but I know I have like a ton of work hanging over my head. At the end of the day, I would say, that was so fun sitting on the ground and playing a board game with them. Or go outside for your walk. What's the thing you're going to look back and say, I'm so glad I didn't miss doing that, I
think that helps prioritize the list, because one of the things that I've been working on in the past year is making a reasonable list. Because before, my to-do list would be 16 pages. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this done. And I've just taken to, if I can't fit it on a page, I don't remember where I learned this. It was somewhere on social media. So whoever it was, thank you. If you can't fit it on one page, that's too much for the day. Like it's too much. And I find that if I don't stick to that one page, I am more tired and more stressed and don't feel accomplished at the end of the day. Whereas if I stick to that one page, I feel like I've actually accomplished something and I can actually let myself rest. So it's kind of the opposite of what you just said. Like, yes, there are things that like, oh, do I regret doing that? No. But then there's things where I'm like, I should have just left my laundry for tomorrow. Why did I try to do it while I was trying to put dishes away and do all this stuff? I should have just left it for tomorrow. It's still going to be there. So I think really putting all those things that you want to do, plus the things you need to do, but keeping it to a small enough list, I think that really helps with balance.
I agree with you, Victoria. In the end, there's only so much you can do. There's only 24 hours. And if we continue to run ourselves into the ground versus really prioritize, including those, playing the board game or really what needs to be done, right? So if it's an easy thing, like if laundry was, I'm just going to toss it in and forget it, great. But if you do 20 of those kinds of things, those are real time. And are they the priority in that moment? I think I've gotten better. I used to be that much later for work because I try to load the dishwasher and wipe the counters and grab laundry. I'd fill every second and it always pushed me out. And now I'm like, that counter looks gross. See you tonight. Those dishes, yuck. See them later. I have to do it or I just fill every second with far more seconds than that time has. And it's just, it becomes almost ridiculous at what we do to ourselves. I think we have to recognize where we do this to ourselves and where we have things on that list that either aren't the priority of the day or maybe should never get done at all.
I love that.
So I think what makes me feel better at the end of this conversation is I'm not alone. All three of us have a different life scenario and
Yeah.
we all feel it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the key is how do you still see yourself as a real badass at what you do every day and not look for that perfection, but look to do the best you can. And maybe to your point, Kate, there's no balance, but there's balance-ish. Balance-ish is I try to make sure I find that rest. I find the activity. I do the things I have to do, but also not at the expense of feeling terrible at the end of the day. Balance-ish. I like it. I want a t-shirt. Balance-ish.
Yeah. Some balls in the air, some balls on the ground.
Some ducks walking. Maybe the eggs are with them. I don't know.
Sunrise Sisters would like to thank Sterling-Lancaster Community Television, all of our friends on social media, our listeners.
I'd like to thank Brooke Winsman for our fantastic logo. Thanks for listening. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kate, and thanks for running with us.